you on YouTube watching, you can go ahead on YouTube. So is Tahoe, is it still on your Tahoe at Tahoe TV, or is it on So Shameless Pod on YouTube?
It is the same, youtube.com/Tahoe TV.
All right. So y'all, if you prefer to be on YouTube, go ahead and join on YouTube. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Right. Put the
Yeah,
alerts on,
yeah,
all that good stuff.
yeah.
All
And if you
right.
comment on YouTube, your comments will be coming up on screen, so we'll be able to address them. So,
Yes. So that would be the preferred method. All right, y'all. So y'all be sure to support, and I appreciate y'all being here. Go ahead and share this out to as many gentlemen and ladies that are in support of men's mental health, so we can have a gorgeous conversation tonight. So you ready?
yes, I am ready.
All right. So
Cassandra.
yeah, so I'm so familiar with you. So let me just back up a little bit, just in case some of my people are on here and they don't know too much about you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself, and then I'll get to some of the questions.
Okay. My name is Tahoe, better known as Tahoe TV. On two podcasts/shows. One is So Shameless Podcast, where I'm on with my beautiful co-host and my friend Trom Daja and Trom, and we just discuss urban issues. We discuss growth in our community.
Yeah.
Me coming from a place where I've always been more identifiable as, I look at I look at men, right? I'm like, yo, you got the brothers and you got the niggas. And
I'm with that.
I've always kind of been in the middle of both. I know where my heart is, but I also know that my energy has been more inwardish in the past.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to get more to being like a positive, inspirational brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm grown. I have children. And I just see more for my life than just being a bottom feeder type of personality. And in that, I started a show called Hard or Soft. And that is actually to speak to men about the things that we like in the bedroom versus the things we don't like in the bedroom. Hence, the things that make us hard and the things that make us soft. Now, this
Right.
might sound like an extremely freaky thing, but it's more about mindset. It's more about being able to express yourself. It's more about having emotional intelligence and vulnerability, and actually being an equal partner to the energy that women, positive women, put out there, and they're looking for a positive partner. A lot of times with us men, we haven't practiced that growing up. We haven't practiced being a positive male. We just try to be as fire as we can and get as many women as we can. And then when it comes to actually being a human being, we fall short because we haven't practiced those muscles. So
That
that
part.
is what Hard or Soft is about. And I'm a father. I'm a fiance and
Yes.
a son,
Congratulations again.
and a friend. Well, thank you, and thank you for helping me walk down that path. But yeah, I'm
Yes.
here. Let's do it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for introducing yourself. Real quick about me. My name is Cassandra. Go by Ask Miss Cassandra, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And I am a social worker turned life and relationship coach and a men's advocate. I have to change that a little bit because, I've learned so much about men that sometimes my ladies, my homegirls, they think that I'm like the men's whisperer and a men's
Mhm.
expert. I am not. I'm not a men's expert. I'm a men's advocate. So what that means for me is I support men in being able to express their emotions, identify what reciprocity would look like for them, help them with their emotional intelligence and growth, and just be an all around. I'm rooting for every man. I'm rooting for every man to win. When we have a healthy community filled with men that are healthy, then that does impact women and children. So sometimes people think like,
Exactly.
well, what about the ladies? What about the children? Well, we have a lot of resources for women and children. And because men tend to be very stoic and tend to hide their emotions, we make the assumptions that they're okay when they're not. And so I just want to kind of blow the lid back a little bit and make sure that our men are standing tall and firm because we expect so much from our men. And I want to make
Hmm.
sure that they can handle it. So
Hmm.
that is my
Hmm.
contribution to the world. And I'm going to get right into these questions with Tahoe. So if you guys have any questions, I might try to peek at my phone a little bit, see what's coming through, but I might not. But if you guys want to ask questions, please come into Tahoe's YouTube channel, and so that you can ask your questions there so we can see it come up. All right. All
Maybe you
right.
might want to post that and pin that comment. Go to the YouTube to ask questions.
So
YouTube.com/Tahoe TV, and then
I'm
pin it
trying to make
on your IG. We
All
got
right.
time. I'm here. I'm yours.
All right.
Let's
Let
do it.
me put this right here. I'm gonna try to do it with one hand.
I would love to know what the people out there are doing for Men's Mental Health Month. What the
Yes.
men are doing. Like, are they even recognizing it? Because
Yeah.
it kind of feels like another one of those Father's Day things where it's like, hey, I heard about it, but nobody thinks about that.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep. I know y'all
But
tired of getting socks.
I mean, I like socks. I like socks. I like dope socks. Not, don't give me a pack of white tube socks. Like, show some
Right.
effort. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Go to what is that? Whatever it's Staunch or whatever that the dope sock store is, or give me some designer joints. Don't get me one with your face all over it. Y'all got to think. Y'all
Right.
got to think about
You don't like
about.
that?
I mean, get one, but don't give me a bunch of them. Like, yo, y'all got to think about getting men gifts that make you feel good.
That part. We
You know
probably
what I'm
should even
saying?
we should probably get into that at some point. But let's start with you for a moment. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to share with the folks about your personal journey and what led you to prioritize your mental health as a Black man. Like, of course, most of us brown and Black folk, we did not grow up in an environment that supported mental health. So at some point, we had to learn that mental health exists and that it's beneficial to work on it. So share with us how you became aware of mental health and what led you to it.
Interesting enough. So let's get your camera pointed up a little bit, Cassandra, because your head is a little cut off on
Right here?
YouTube. Yeah, there you go.
Right here?
There
All right.
you go. Look like a whole person. I'm all here for women looking their best. I'll be like, yo,
Thank
your
you.
lash is falling off. I'll be like, yo, you might want to get that right there.
Right, right.
Let me see. This is going to be interesting. This is an interesting question for me. As an only child in Brooklyn, and a Pisces man who feels every single thing on the spectrum of feelings, but never really practiced identifying what those feelings were. I will say that the majority of my life, I've been in some sort of emotional and mental turmoil, not really knowing what it is or why it is. I will say that I was into people pleasing. I will say that there's a large resentment, holding resentment over things that didn't go my way, holding guilt over things that I felt I did but never addressed, or felt like the world was looking at me a certain way. Anger, what's the thing? I don't want to say inferiority complex. Imposter syndrome. Feeling as if, are you there on YouTube?
Imposter
All right,
syndrome.
a little bit. But imposter syndrome, where I may feel like I'm not good enough. I'm always watching and seeing when that black cloud is going to unleash thunder and lightning on my sunshine. When is everything that I'm built going to crumble? It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It's always happened. So imagine being a guy that's trying to build a life, but you got resentment, imposter syndrome, inferiority complex, maybe people pleasing, anger, right? Misplaced love, or feeling like, yo, going to that people please. I just want you to like me. I just want people to like me. Very confusing. Your brain is always trying to do so much, and you're lost. For a long part of my life, I just did things just for a reaction, for a dopamine response, because I was not able to regulate myself. I just didn't have it. But as I've gotten older, especially since I've gotten in a relationship, and through you, I will say probably one of the best things that I've done is have a life coach, having somebody that I can bounce my thoughts off of, having somebody that I can say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. What is that? And should I be feeling that? What's the appropriate response to that? Is it something that you've seen before? Do other people go through this? And I don't think that a lot of men really like to do that. We will ask like-minded individuals to stamp our feelings, to stamp our actions. Like, yeah, I was right? And then if you don't, then y'all argue and you walk away. But it's very rare that you take time to sit back with somebody who actually has the mental thought and capabilities to help walk you through what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and give you options as to which way you can go forward.
Right.
Having somebody like you in my corner has helped me a lot with just processing
Absolutely.
my emotions, right? I think one thing that I've done as of late to help protect my mental health is to realize that I am not going to be good enough for everybody. I am not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And as one of my friends on Instagram said, what people think about me is none of my business.
None of my business.
It's none of my business. I know where my intent is. I know where my heart is. You know what I'm saying? If I can apologize, I can hear you out. But if it doesn't suit you to feel me on that, God bless and move on. Holding that, consistently trying to correct it or to make up for it, bro, that's a burden that I consistently try to make somebody who is intent on not liking me like me. Somebody who's been made up their mind. If somebody don't want you around, there's nothing that you're gonna do to have them welcome you. And I didn't get that. I did not get that. Going with that, I would say the next thing that I do for my mental health is forgive myself. Guilt is horrible, bro. That's something that it walks with you into every room. Every room. You come off timid. You're not able to bask in your full self. You're not able to actually, as a man, you're not actually be the man you might want to be. You're trying to be the man that somebody else didn't like you for. So you're projecting. You're doing all of this extra stuff. And I let that go. I learned how to forgive myself. And sometimes I also learn how to forgive other people for how they made me feel. And I do that just to release hate, anger, resentment. Those things also impacted me continuously. The fact that I would keep those feelings inside. So definitely just learning how to let go, let God, laugh more, smile more, listen more. You know what I'm saying? I found myself always being on the defense or always needing to have a response to everything. Being able to say, okay, I didn't intend to do that. Yo, I did not intend to make you feel that way. I need people, men, to incorporate that in your everyday shit. Because literally, when somebody could come at you and be like, yo, honestly, I hear you. I never intended to make you feel that way. It is one of the sharpest weapons that you can have to de-escalate some BS that you don't even want to be in.
Right.
Because if you didn't mean to, you don't really have to defend and all that. You can explain. But you don't have to go into all of the, oh, you're doing that because I'm this, or, you know, that's you, the way you think is this, that, and the other. Listen, that's not my fight. My fight is just telling you, I never meant to make you feel that way. I would never do that to you. What can I do to make it up to you? And move on.
Bingo. Yep.
So those are the things that I do. I kind of just learn how to release and let go of things that I've held on for a long period of time.
And what's the difference do you see in yourself emotionally, or in terms of like, what's your before and after? So now that you work on this work, how did Tahoe handle stress before, and how do you handle it now?
Stress before would be, first of all, I want to say erratic behavior, but there's more to that, right? It's this anger or this like jittery. It's like you're always on edge. So the opposite of that is peace of mind, loving myself. I love myself. I know that I'm trying. I know that I've made mistakes, but I've forgiven myself for my mistakes. I know that I mean the best by the people who are in my life and around me. And so the little things that I may have misstepped at over the course of time, I'm able to say, yo, you know what? That might have been a bad play, but this is what I'm doing to correct that and move forward. That's it. Versus continuously every day feeling I'm being attacked by this person or that person or whatever, because they can see the negativity that I've been in my life. Man, F that. That's gone. I'm me. I'm a whole new person, and I'm happy with who I am. And I find like so much solace in that. I'm able to smile and enjoy the moments.
I love that. That's exactly what I was hoping to hear. Is peace, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
peace.
when I sometimes do like deep clients, I'll talk to them about the Sabbath, and that basically is just that space of rest, which is your external environment doesn't always have to contribute to your sense of peace. It's more so around how you interpret what's going on, and if you believe you have the capacity to get through it versus catastrophizing it, you know? And when you can enter into that space of rest and be cool, like it's a blessing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, that's what's up. Hi,
Yeah,
Roland.
yeah. Roland
Yeah,
in the chat
absolutely.
says, "Yo, I needed to hear that word about being okay with it being everybody's cup of tea, with not being everybody's cup of tea. Like, yo, we do so much as men. We want to be accepted, bro. Especially black men. Like they,
Yes.
black women and black men. We're in this space in society where it's like, do I even belong here? Are they going to accept me? Is this racism? Am I going to be like the my parents or my grandparents? I want to be somebody. And with a lot of that, you just have a craving for acceptance. Yo, man, listen, do your best by you, by God, by the people that love you, and move on. Forgive yourself,
Absolutely.
bro. And that's it.
I love that. So, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. So, we have your personal mastery, right, where you've worked
Mm,
on transmuting energy, right? So, working on your mental health does not mean that you never have a bad day, right? Working on
mm,
your mental health does not mean that you're not going to second guess your abilities, your capacity, your confidence. Your confidence get tested. But what mental health will provide is when you work on your self love and you work on your confidence, you have a level of stamina and energy to persist to get to the other side.
mhm,
And you are a businessman. You are quite the businessman, actually, because not only do you have one podcast, you have two. You're the
mhm,
podcast
mhm,
shows, um, which is extremely dope. And you have your own. You work in your own way. You're a dad. You are
mhm,
a fiance. So you're juggling a lot. So
mhm.
um, let's talk about business mastery for a bit. And you not only do you have your own stuff, but you're also invited to other people's podcasts too. I'm sure I've
Yeah,
seen you on some
yeah.
other podcasts as well. So
Mhm.
you're flying everywhere. You're visiting places. You're sharing your thought provoking ideas and opinions, and so you're juggling all these things. How do you manage your mental health having such a packed schedule?
Um, that's a good question. And the reason that's a good question is because I don't have a good answer for it. I will say that, wow, can y'all hear the ice cream machine?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear the ice cream truck? While that passes,
It's
don't
the New
forget,
York way.
if you're in the Instagram, please come over to youtube.com and comment, and we put your comments on the screen. Um, my purpose is my peace. I had an argument with my co-host, not an argument, but a debate with my co-host. And she's like, yo, you do too much. You're always busy. You need to learn how to just relax. And man, you probably gonna tell me differently, like, right? But I'm like, yo, when I tried to detach, I don't know if it's ADHD. I don't know if I got something to prove to myself, but it's like I'm always thinking about what's next. I'm
Right.
always thinking about what's next. So me, I feel good when I'm affecting, when I'm effective. So whether it's making my step daughters feel good, whether it's making my daughter feel good, whether it's making my sons feel good, whether it's making my lady feel good, whether it's making my co-host or the people in my community, um, the people around me, if I'm able to affect them positively, I feel like I'm doing good. That calms whatever fire that I have in my soul. It literally, I feel like it's my purpose in
Mhm.
life. Like I feel like it's my purpose. Um, so the more I do, sometimes I get physically tired. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I shut off. I put the phone down,
Yep.
I disappear. I don't watch much television. I listen to Rihanna. I listen to my auntie album, and I go for walks. I go play basketball sometimes. Sometimes I just do projects with my stepdaughters or with my sons. Or I'll just go sit in my daughter's room and just talk. Just literally just sitting there and talk and eat ice cream and I just detach from all of the noise from the outside. Uh, but for me, staying busy in a positive way,
Yep.
I think I think I just unlocked something. I just like positively affecting the world.
Yes.
And that's become my passion. And for me, that is my way of validating the amount of time that I spend doing these things, because it's like, yo, I get to do more. You know what I'm saying? And that just makes me feel good. So I don't necessarily get tired of doing things. You know what I'm saying? It's just my thing.
I
Somebody
feel like
asked me
that's how you know if you found your purpose. Somebody asked a question on IG or on YouTube.
here on YouTube. Somebody says, "Can you see it?"
Uh-huh. I see. Hi, Ashley. How do you manage to make everyone in your community happy and maintain your own happiness? That's a good question.
I can't make everybody happy. I know that. I know that I can put out dope energy. I can give, I was talking to one of my friends this last week or 2 weeks ago, and he was basically complaining about a situation, and he was gun ho about doing some really not cool stuff in his family environment, because he knew that there was going to be a bunch of yes men around him to go, yeah, F that, yo, they can't do that, and this and that. And I was like, bro, that's a really bad idea. Your idea of what you think you're going to do, that's going to negatively affect you. That's going to negatively affect your family. You're going to get more of the things that made you feel this way. Like, what's the positive reaction out of that? What's the positive result out of that? And did he choose to listen to me? Probably not. But that was the energy that I put out there. Like, literally saying, like, yo, this isn't a good idea. Counsel him, give him things, and then move on. I'm not responsible for his behavior, but I can say that I threw out great positive energy. I felt good walking away from that conversation. Like, man, in my life, I rarely told my friends, no, you're wrong about that, in a way that was positive and corrective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most times I would agree with you, like, yo, that's messed up that they did that. Yo, women are like that. Yo, why do women do this? Or yo, when N-words do this or that and the other, why did niggas do that? Instead of saying like, yo, today I was working on the truck, and the dude was like, he asked the dude next to us to back up because his car was blocking the garbage. I'm a garbage man. And he was like, yo, why wouldn't he back up? But the dude's car was broken. It was the battery wasn't working. And he was like, yo, he could have just told me that the battery wasn't working. And I was like, bro, I think he's just having a really bad day already. And he just he wasn't thinking about your comprehension of what he was trying to
Right.
tell you in the moment. I think that we should be able to give him a little bit of grace, because he's having a bad day and it's raining. And he was like, yo, you know what? You're right. I'm just saying, like, I was like, yo, sometimes we got to give people a little peace. You know what I'm saying? That they don't have it themselves. We got to share our peace with them. And that's what I'm saying. I just become a person that I just like being a dope person to the world around me. Are they going to accept it? Most times not. But that doesn't affect my purpose or my intent. I did what makes me feel good. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's the source of my happiness. Doing stuff like that.
I love that. I love the balance, and I love the fact that you found your way, a way to navigate through the noise, albeit yours or noise, and being able to find a happy medium when you can. I think most power professionals, people who are in their who are in their purpose, whether they found it in their 9 to 5 or they find it with a business or they're doing both, will say the same thing when it comes to balance. Like there
Really?
isn't. There really isn't. Like Shonda Rhimes even said it. She's just like, she does so much. People just ask her, like, how do you do it all? She's just like, I don't. Sometimes things get dropped. Sometimes things are not the priority in that moment. And she has to make the best judgment call that she can to make that executive decision on what gets her full priority in a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like that is like the healthiest response, which is there is no answer. There is no perfect day. Sometimes no 2 days will look alike. No 2 weeks are looking alike. Sometimes family gets upset, right? Sometimes family wants more of you. Sometimes you feel like you're not doing as good as you can in your business. You're not giving it your all. These things happen, they fluctuate. And I think that that's, one of the things I was pointing out earlier concerning mental health, which is mental health does not mean that you manage to create a perfect world. Mental health means that whatever world you have, whatever cards you're dealt with, you feel like you have the capacity, the wherewithal to manage it, to sort it out, to figure it out, to put it down for a moment and say, I don't have this right now. Just even being able to say, I cannot, I don't have it, I don't have the bandwidth for it, is the proof that your mental health is healthy, right?
Yo,
Like you have that mental health.
I literally just told you I'm supposed to go to Mouse's comedy show tonight,
Right.
and I said I
Yes.
don't have it. I just don't have it,
Okay.
and I think that that's a part of the people pleasing thing, is to always do what everybody else needs of you. Sometimes I
Yeah.
can't do that, and the stress of having to serve everybody and make everybody okay with all of your moves is overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
I
Yep.
literally am at a point where I can say, yo, my intent is to make you happy, but I can't do that for you right now because I got to take care of me right now. Right now, I'm going to do this show with Cassandra. I'm going to clean up my crib and I'm going to sleep because I'm tired. And I'm going to send you great show. I can't make it tonight. I hope you had a great show. Let's talk about it tomorrow and move on. Maybe he might feel away. Hopefully he doesn't. But that's what I need for me.
Correct. Absolutely. And even for myself as someone who has a servant's heart, I struggle with that still. You know, I've gotten really good at being able to create more balance with my daughter. Like I will literally tell my daughter, mommy needs to take care of herself first and then I will come help you. Like I literally will tell her that because I also want to model for her what prioritizing yourself looks like. That although she is like the apple of my eye, she is my world. I will climb into the pits of hell if she was in there and bring her out. And I promise you, we both coming out, right? Like when that mama bear kick in, baby, what? I will pick up a car with one hand and get my daughter out. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing ever. But we get to model to other people what it looks like. And in that, we get to have grace. So she'll say the same thing to me, right? Like she'll tell me, I don't have the capacity to finish cleaning my room. I need a break. And I will honor that. I will honor her sharing her capacity with me because, I'm holding space for her. So I think that's super dope that you're doing that. That's the right thing to do. So something that Ashley said and something that you said earlier has me wondering, kind of thinking about your business and your passion and being able to do what you do. Anybody can have a podcast on any topic, but I find that your two podcasts touch upon something that I think is really powerful, and that's regarding shame. So I just think it's so interesting that you have one podcast that is so shameless pod, or that's what it is on YouTube, on IG pod, and then you have Hard or Soft, and Hard or Soft kind of takes away some of the stigma, right? Like it's just in your face, right? It's just like I defy society being able to tell me what I can and cannot like as a man. As I do what I want to do, and I'm going to declare this proudly, right? So that's taking away that shame. And so Shameless is talking about having very kind of conversations about things that's going on in the world from three very dope, amazing people who have strong opinions that are not even people pleasing in that space. Because sometimes y'all do not agree, right? Like you guys are not looking for
those are the best shows.
Right, y'all will go, y'all will tussle a little bit, which is super dope. So let's talk about shame a little bit, because that is something that we don't talk about a lot concerning men. Women will experience shame in their own way when it comes to not necessarily their sexuality, but their sexual prowess, if you will, right? So women, are groomed to want to have a low body count or lie about their body count, right? Whereas men, that may not be the shame part of it, how many people he had. It might be more so what he wants to do, try, and be able to confess it, right? Especially if he's in a heterosexual relationship and maybe he want a little booty play or something like that. I hope I can say that on YouTube and IG, but he want to do a little something, and it's just like, how do I say this? So, what inspired you to have those kinds of podcasts, those two types of podcasts? Do you think that it is inspired because maybe you dealt with some shame, or you've concealed parts of yourself in the past that inspired you to create these two versions of like having a ballsy conversations? How did you come to creating these two podcasts?
I would honestly say that both my podcasts are a direct reflection of who I've always been. I've always gone against the grain. I've always I've never fit into the room to what everybody else is doing. Uh, and now I don't know if that was a strength of mine or something that I didn't like. You know, maybe I always did want to fit in, but when you want to or when you try to, you don't. Right? People kind of don't like people pleasers. People kind of like the people that don't give a f. Right? So
That's just a fact.
people tend to want the attention of the person that don't give a f. But the people pleasers is those is the corny dude. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, you owe, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that I took things, I don't know if it was things that I wasn't comfortable with, but I was really good at going against the grain. I was very good at going against the grain. I've always been very good at going against the grain. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to share that in the world with the world in a way that is edgy and positive, in a way that questions, you know, the world nowadays, social media world. If you don't go where everybody else is going, there's shame. It's right there. They're gonna tear you down. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. And me personally, I welcome that. I welcome that. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
I'm very confident.
Love it.
I make a couple dollars. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I like my sex game. You know what I'm saying? I got things that I'm confident. The things that I think men judge themselves for, I'm in a good place with that. And so I don't really feel like anybody can tell me much about myself in a way that I'm going to carry it, right? And so I kind of use that power to say, all right, put this in your face. What do you think about this? I disagree. Or, you know, I'm free in a way that you don't want me to be. You know what I'm saying? And what you going to do about it? And I think I just kind of gathered a community of people that was like, I like that. We don't see much of that. You know what I'm saying? And then also I surround myself with not only positive people, but positive women, dope women. And I think that I think I've always done that. I think I've always taken to the power of Black women, of dope Black women. But now I kind of said, yo, you know what? Take this platform, do what you will with it. You know what I'm saying? Or with Heart of Soft, speaking in truth to things that help Black women. And that also gathered more of them, you know, to us, to listen to us and stuff like that. So yeah, shame is my power. I like it. Come with it. I like that. Because
I love that. You know, I don't think that we realize how much shame actually does negatively impact mental health.
the world, it really does. It really does.
Really does.
Especially for men. Because with men, Black men, and I was saying this the other day, when you're born as a Black man, especially if you don't have a 2-parent home, especially if you're not in middle class, you kind of subscribe to the I'm supposed to be dead by 18 to 25. Ooh. Or you subscribe to like you ain't ish. Your parents a lot of time come from, you know, low income communities. They tell you ain't ish or you're gonna be just like him, or you know, it's a joke, it's a running joke, but you internalize that. Yeah. You really see yourself like that. And I was saying yesterday or the day before, I remember how I felt when people laughed at my clothes, or when I couldn't afford polo, or when I couldn't afford Jordans. My mom, I would want to go get the Jordans from Dr. J's downtown, and she would go into the sneaker bin with the $25 sneakers and get me 2 of those, and be like, "Well, why would I spend $100 for these when I get you 2 pairs of sneakers and these gonna last you?" You know what I'm saying? And
man, those days are painful.
I would look at everybody else, right? And like, I'm not as good. Those people got more attention. They were cooler. They got what I wanted. The reason I'm saying this is because I feel like as a Black man, if you're coming from a certain place, you build your character with the things that you have or the things that you attain, whether it's women, cars, clothes, jewelry, sneakers, your waves, like you wear your personality, you build it around you, you wear your accomplishments, right? So going back to shame, people can strip that from you. You don't come from a place where, say, Falcon Crest or Dallas or JR, or, you know, when I watch the white men and they come from legacies and their families have a name and they have nepotism where they can actually help put them in places. We don't come from that. We're literally trying to get it from the dirt. So if I've accomplished something and then you take it away from me in a minute because I'm not worthy, I'm a bum, whatever, even if I got the clothes or whatever, or you know, that's like, I don't want to say life ending, but it's detrimental to how you view yourself. And the fact that the suicide rate is so high, the fact that men do so much when it comes to abuse and other things, there's reasons for that. There's reasons for that. And the reasons come from how you view yourself and how other people view you and your reaction to that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Did I do too much?
No, not at all. No, listen, I'm an extra person, so I never too much. In the words of what's his name, the song. Yeah. So no, that is amazing. That is, you know, and when I was, you know, thinking about today, and I was thinking about speaking with you. Now, those are some of the things I was thinking. I was like, wow, you know, he really, he pushes the bounds, and the boundaries are there because somebody made them. Somebody who's flesh and bone, just like you, who wants to go beyond that limit, but somebody told you that you weren't allowed. Someone decided that polo was it. You know what I'm saying? Like someone that, like, remember they tried to do FUBU, they tried to do something for us, and we wasn't having it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't enough. And you know, someone who is as equally on the same level as you, right? Flesh and bone, human being, is making these decisions. Found a way to make such an amazing contribution to our world as a Black people, to be able to challenge that, to dare people to be their most authentic self, right? Because you have people on the couch, right, that are talking and being very transparent and saying some of the most craziest things, right? Like sometimes I'd be like, what? At 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Like, right? As soon as that thing dropped, I'd be like, what? Like, my bonnet is still on, right? And just, and you know, and the comments are going, and people are either agreeing or disagreeing, but there's this space, and where, you know, whether it's virtually or someone in your presence is able to say, this is what I do, this is why I do it, and it's well with my soul. Like, to not do this would be a betrayal, self-betrayal, and y'all don't pay my bills. And I don't know, y'all don't care what you have to say, but I'm sharing something with you because somebody else might be curious, interested, or wanting, and you're so busy being everything for everybody else that you forgot to be you for you. And so I hope that you know, really absorb that, and really, I don't know if you do, but I know that you're a very deep thinker, and I know that you're very intentional. But when I was reflecting on your two podcasts, I was like, oh my gosh, wow, like both of them in their own respective rights challenges what we declare as normal. You know, and that's incredible, right? Like that's mental health right there. Like, you know, you a whole therapist. You don't like you a whole therapist.
A therapist is nuts, but you know, I definitely feel that what I've created with these shows, it's important. And that's why I keep them going. Somebody was like, "Oh, why do you still do it? You could, you know, 7-8 years, you know, podcasts are out of touch, or, you know, it's too many of them." And I'm like, because I know I'm affecting somebody. 100%. I've literally gotten messages from men saying, yo, I've learned so much from you because I didn't have a dad, or I didn't have, you're like my big brother. And I never, you know, I always thought, one of my friends called me the other day and he said that he was having an issue with this guy. And, you know, most of the people around him were like, yo, you got to approach that. You can't let him talk to you like that. You can't let him talk to you about that. And I was like, man, you must really care about how he feels about you. You must really respect that guy, because you ready to go to war.
Right.
Fight, you ready to do whatever you got. Like, this must really matter to you and your life, what he thinks about you. You must love him. And he was like, oh, you crazy. No, I don't. I was like, well, if you're going to stop what you're doing in your life and where you're going and say, you know what, I'm going to add a negative to it. I'm going to go get this weapon, or I'm going to go do this, any other, and I'm going to destroy everything that I got going for myself, merely because he has an opinion about you that you don't like, you must love him. You must really, it must really, really
What did he
matter.
say to that?
He got quiet. And he was like, yo, thank you, bro. He was like,
Wow.
he's like, thank you. And I was like, and those guys that they're telling you to go fight, like, have they do they have a history of that? I was like, because most the people who tell you that are not warriors. Most of the people who
Ooh,
tell you to go
that's a
grab
fact.
them and go half cocked into battle are not warriors. They're not captains. They're not
Right.
generals. There are
Right.
other soldiers on the field that have no
Right.
direction whatsoever, and they just want to see some kind of violence because it's going to make them feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. Because anybody who's a true warrior, they don't want to see that bloodshed. They're like, yo, it's not even worth it.
It's
You're
not
more
worth
familiar
it.
with it. Yeah.
They're going to try to de-escalate it. But I'm like, so he got off the phone with me and said, yo, you know what? I'm just going to block him and go. And I was like, that's all you really need to do, bro. If he is not affecting you, this ain't about money. This ain't about love. This ain't about anything, family, anything. You just really just throwing your life to the wind for somebody that you don't even care about.
Right.
That is what my effect on this world. I feel that's my calling right now. It's to speak truth to my brothers out there, for sure.
And that's
Thank
so
you,
good
bro.
because there's even there's been a lot of research. I mean, especially back in the 80s when things were a lot different, and there were a lot of studies that talked about bravado and especially urban culture. Like there were, I was in school and they had textbooks of studying urban culture and drugs and violence and street smarts. Essentially, was like what the study was all about, right? And there was this essence of you know, you are as brilliant as you don't get caught. So there was this, and I wish I could remember it, but this is back in my, when I was, studying to become a psychologist, and this study was a phenomenon around why why were some of the youth, and young men committing crimes or doing certain things or getting into fights, and it was a way of expressing a level of competence. I'm competent enough to not get caught. Because if you get caught, then you're done, right? Like something is wrong with you. I enter into battle because I need to show that I can protect, right? So there were all these methods and measures on, especially when they didn't have a two-parent household or there was a broken home. That was what the street culture provided. That was the way that they groomed one another. Do you, when you reflect on things like that and the way things were back then and now, do you think that, and I'm going to compare like women and men here, do you think that men pursue working on their mental health as much as women do? If you don't mind me asking, I know like we try to stay from the gender wars, but I'm just
Not a
curious from a
genuine
male
question.
perspective, do you feel
I don't
like
think
men are aware of it?
I'm going to say this, and I think we've heard it. I don't think that people actually understand it, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to verbalize it the way I want to. I'm going to give it a shot. And I believe that women are taught to be better humans earlier on in their life
Okay.
than men. I think from family, from church, from society, they are taught to have a real life, to have a real purpose. I feel like they have more support to be a human being that actually is successful emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. I think that it's an expectation from society for women to work on their mental health or to have, even in y'all nuclear communities, y'all talk to each other about things and y'all, mostly contribute to each other's peace. Mostly, that's what's expected. Uh, I don't believe that men are groomed in that way. I think men are groomed to be, I don't want to say predators, but more so get what you can get. Get however you're gonna get it. Whether it's take it, steal it, lie for it,
Right.
acquisition And I think
True.
that's a Western thought process, right? With white people,
True.
it's always been about
Right.
conquering and acquiring and greed. That's capitalism, right?
Mhm.
That's literally their way of life. That's their way of doing things, and I think that's the
Right.
male way of doing it. But it isn't until later on in life
Yeah.
when women need us to actually be human to them.
Do you think that women working on their mental health, do you think that it translates in relationships? Because I've also heard a lot of men say that where are all the women at who are screaming that they're working on their mental health and they're going to therapy because we don't see that y'all are stable. So, do you see that it translates? Do you see a distinction, or do you think that that's social media hyping it up? That women are working on their mental health the way that they say they are.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go towards what Mouse Jones said on one of his panels, where he said, "We have a culture that preys on broken women when it comes
Mm.
to social media."
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because there are so many clips, so many shows, so many people out there that kind of push negative ideals onto
Hmm.
women or do this trauma bonding thing like, oh, if you're brokenhearted, come over here. Like, let's talk about this ain't shit. Let's talk about that ain't shit. Let's do ain't
Hmm.
shit this. Let's do ain't shit that. Because
Hmm.
I ain't gonna be no punk, whatever chick, or he ain't gonna. If you was really working on your mental health, you would detach from social media, not ingest so many of these negative ideals, so many of these negative thoughts of other people. You I don't know if this is the truth, this is just me talking. You're watching the ID channel and you're watching Snapped and you're it's all of this negative stuff,
Right.
right? And there's a reason that you're attracted to that as women. There's a reason.
Right.
I can't say why it is. Maybe you could,
Right.
but
Yeah.
there's a reason that y'all are attracted to that. And so if that's what your environment is
Consuming.
daily,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
what you're consuming daily. Yes,
Hmm.
you may be working on your mental health in some ways, but how can you positively show up in a positive relationship without those things affecting the way you think or your concerns?
Yeah.
Those things, if that's what you're ingesting, it's there. I don't know how it's
Yeah.
going to show up, but it is.
That part.
It is.
Right.
So that's how I feel about that. I do believe that women do work on it, but I also think that it should be more of a we should be putting some of the nonsense down. Some of these spikes that you walk around in your pocket, and as soon as somebody hugs you, that spike stabs you in the heart. It's because you was walking around with these memes. You're walking around with with
Hmm.
all of this negative stuff, and you're
100%.
like you're saving it, you're saving it, you're
And
saving
treating it like it's a fact.
You're treating it, and it's like, yo, why do you always have a meme for what you just went through? You had that
Yeah.
saved somewhere. Why?
Yeah.
If this wasn't what you was going through, why did you have it readily available, waiting
No,
to
this is a
post?
fact. Right. This is a fact. I think that I think the phenomenon that's happening in our culture when it comes to mental health, and this is just my opinion, and why I think there's a lot of gender wars, is that we don't grow very well in isolation. We grow far better in community. And it's so hard to utilize what you're learning independent of other energies and collaborate on that.
Mhm.
Right. So if I'm as a black woman, I'm working on my mental health, my emotional health. Sure, I've mastered how to do that around my boss to where he
Mhm.
doesn't trigger me anymore. But
Mhm.
it's an entirely different charge when I now have to practice that in the face of me and being in a relationship where there are no bounds, there are no guidelines. At least your boss has to have some level of decorum, or your supervisor, I should say, should have some level of decorum for a workplace environment, or there's always HR. There's somebody that you can tell.
Mhm.
But in a relationship, there's no one that you can tell.
Mhm.
So you might ante it up. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to practice. So I
Mhm.
think that black women and black men, or just women and men in general, because this is just overall men's mental health, not necessarily for just black men, but while working on yourselves, it takes practice to actually translate what you're learning in a safe, confined space with a therapist or a life coach and actually live it out day to day, right? Because if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it, right? Like I still have to practice my language. I still have to practice my tone every single day. Doesn't matter how many books I've read over the last 20 years. If I don't utilize it, I'm going to lose it. So I think that in my opinion, I do see women working on their mental health, and I do see a lot of men that are very interested in working on their mental health and no longer feel a stigma around it. Is that something that you also observe? Do you feel like men are becoming more comfortable talking about their mental health needs, or do you think there's still stigma and shame around it?
I'm probably gonna give you an answer that's going to be disappointing. The reason why I'm going to do that is because I think for mental health to work, it has to be a community thing. It can't just be you. It has to be you. It
Right.
has to be your wife, possibly your children. There has to be a complete shift in the way y'all communicate with each other, the way you're communicating with yourself. And it definitely has to be one where you're taking in not only your feelings into account, but other people's feelings into account. You know what I'm saying? It has to be consistent. I think that a lot of people are in a space where they realize that mental health is something they can use to win rather than it being actually something that they want to incorporate to make themselves a better person. Being a better person is something, but I'm sure you've heard it where guys use or people use mental health wording to win an argument. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is I don't know.
You're
I don't see
deflecting.
yeah, whatever it is. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm able to really be my whole positive self if my partner isn't working on that as well. If we aren't going to couples therapy or we aren't both doing things at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just a negative environment. It's just a negative environment. If I'm working on it, but you're not, we're not going to be able to match the energy. We're not going to be able to, so I would think we both, if for it to work, it has to be a community thing. And we have to break out of certain mindsets and thought processes and traumas from before that's affecting us now. We got to really be attacking that. All of us, mostly in the Black community, are going through some shit, have been through some shit that we need to address. And if you're just walking through or getting through and then you're not addressing it, but I'm trying to address mine and we're living in the same house, it's not gonna. To me, it's not gonna work.
That is such a good point, because it is.
Man, I'm listening. Sure. I can hear you.
It kind of reminds me of just like the divide and conquer tactic. You know what I mean? And as long as we remain divided, we're not going to be sensitive to one another's issues. I think something that has been most horrific for me, being a woman and being a men's advocate, is watching how if I give them a man's perspective, the men's perspective on an issue, women get mad. I mean, ferociously upset. Women go through that too, and and they give like this story. And it's just like, I had a post where I talked about, the difference between sexual harassment and flirting is whether a woman finds the man attractive. And women were just like, oh my gosh, how dare you? Don't police women and all these things. And I'm just like, if you can't understand, I'm not saying that, I don't have a resolution for that, right? Because sometimes some guys really do too much. And it only takes one extreme situation for a woman to not accept the advances of a man, right? And that has nothing to do with another innocent person. I don't have a resolution for that. But what I can say is we can at least express a level of empathy and understanding that we are confusing, we are confusing the dating market by not having clarity around how we want to be approached. It's damned if he does, he's damned if he don't, right? He's damned if he approaches you and says, hey, beautiful, you look great. It's just like, you might catch the wrong lady who doesn't appreciate the word beautiful. And if you don't say anything, then you're sassy and you want women to come and chase you. So it puts men at this impasse of they're in limbo. A lot of men are in limbo when they're going out. They don't know what to do. So they're looking for some sort of context clues. And I think that, to your point about us being a community in order for us to heal, I think it's so important. And it's a very rich point to make, because it is true. Women don't understand what that feels like to be in an environment and feel so hesitant to do the thing. First of all, a lot of men don't want to, are not necessarily looking for the rejection, right? Like at least maybe a decade ago, it was a thing to see how many numbers you could get. You may not really call all those ladies, right? It's just to kind of see, it's just for sport. And it's a good sport to have because it helps men to address that fear, right? Head on. Like she might say yes, she might say no, right? This might become something, it might not, but to go ahead and address it was a thing. And now we don't really do that anymore, right? And so we're stripping all these things away that we've said are not healthy for men to do, are not right for men to do. It's misogynistic for men to do it. And yet the other side of the coin, where we're creating a strain here, is that we want our men to be leaders. We want them to pursue. We want him to apply pressure. Like, what is even that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is even that? You want him to apply pressure. You want him to pursue. You want him to do all the things while him being faced with the consequence of potentially being perceived as a person who is a predator, right? I don't have a resolution. I don't have an answer for men on what they should do. I don't have an answer for women on what they need to be doing or could be doing better, until we can express or at least have some level of compassion and understanding that this exists, that it is real, and men are not making it up. They're not, they're not complaining for no reason. They're not silent for no reason. When this generation that's coming into, who are pining over the men of old who did the pursuing and things of that nature, they didn't have the same barriers that we now have against men. And I'm not saying that we don't have our reasons for them being there. They are there, but we can have compassion for someone's experiences, even if we can rationalize why we've come to this point, and yet still express compassion. I don't know if I'm making sense.
I think Yo-Yo here in the comments said both sexes lack accountability and understanding for the opposite sex.
100%.
And for one, I'm gonna say something that again y'all probably not gonna agree with. Men need to put the pussy down.
Oh,
we need to do more work on ourselves. Women tend to like men that got their shit together. Men that come off as if, my friend Fro is in here and he wanted to ask a question. He said, to Miss Cassandra, why do women leave when a man is down?
I think
Can you answer that?
Okay.
Well,
so,
yeah, please.
I do come from a Christian background, and I do like to incorporate that a little bit because I feel like the Bible just explains things in such a deep way. And a scripture that comes to mind is where the Bible says that the woman is the weaker vessel, and it asks men to dwell with women according to understanding and knowledge of a woman. Like, this is a requirement for men to understand the weaker vessel in some translations, or the vulnerable one, right? So we are two parts of one whole. Like, a woman and a man was once joined together, and God, took Eve from, Adam's side and asked him to dwell according to knowledge, meaning it is a man's charge to champion his expertise of women, her nature, her emotions, capacity, what drives women in general. So when a woman leaves a man when he's down, it's because women, if any woman has ever held a man down, she was doing it like as if it's like having brakes with no brake pad. It's creating a lot of trauma and friction for her that she may have willingly, like we're talking about women from back in the day, willingly put on, or didn't feel like she had a choice to put on. But in this day and age, women feel like they have an option and a choice. They no longer want to experience that friction, the heaviness of life. And many philosophers, thought leaders who talk about relationships feel like most women are not built to carry weight, which is why we call the masculine or the man the foundation. And when you think about the foundation of anything, if anything has to be strong in any infrastructure, it has to be the foundation. Because if the foundation isn't firm, isn't strong, if there's anything wrong with it, it doesn't matter if the roof is perfect, if the panels of the house is perfect, if the plumbing is perfect. If that foundation is flawed, it's a wrap for the entire house. The whole entire house is going to collapse. So when a man is down, what is basically being stated here is that his found there is a breach in his foundation. And that breach in his foundation is something that a lot of women do not have the capacity to support. And when they try to, when women have made the attempt to, they come out bitter, they come out exhausted, and that's how we know that they're not really built for that. Though they might be able to function in it to a degree, but it's a high functioning that has it when it reverberates back. When you complete a cycle of a man getting back on his feet, she's no longer the woman that you fell in love with. She has changed. She has shifted. She is bitter. She's upset. She's frustrated. She's tired. She has a chip on her shoulder. She's resentful, right? So these are evidence that a lot of women cannot bear that. What would be nice and ideal would be for men to have a support system of men that can understand what a man is going through from a man's perspective. Because despite us sharing our world, we can practice empathy. The reality is that most women cannot really fully understand what a man is going through, just like a man cannot maybe understand childbirth. You can see that she's in pain, but you can't really fathom it. Shoot, like even as a woman, if you haven't gone through childbirth, you can't fathom what that pain is like. There are some things that men go through that it would be best for men to hold his hand. So when a man is down, what he should have ideally is a support system of a bunch of men that can help him get that new job, help him to get his money up so that he can get his car, so that he can get his house, and create these systems for him so that he's not leaning on a woman that can't really bear that in the first place. Hopefully that answers your question.
My boy said that's 100%. Put the pussy down temporarily. Work on your manhood. Develop that 5 and 10 year life plan. Build up your skill sets. Grow powerful in leadership and your own personal life. Yo, that's what I was saying. And Cassandra, I believe that what you said is absolutely correct. A man cannot be. You can, if you have established a community in your house where she knows who you are, she knows your type, what your charge is, and you fall down, your woman is going to support you in a way, and it's because you've already instilled that, like you've already shown that we could all go through tough times. Yeah, but if it's in your character, if you're a money only made you type of dude and you fall, and then now you're starting to get resentful, you're now having issues with your community outside of the house. You're just not looking like a solid man anymore because you haven't done the work on your character. You haven't done the work on your soul. It's now starting to show the leaks in your house, and you're not able to be the provider or the man, the masculine man that a woman kind of needs to calm her fire. It's just going to have her what Cassandra taught me this word scanning. Women,
yes,
all of the cracks.
You remember? I'm so proud of you.
That's literally what they do every single day. They check the fruit. You and me go get broccoli. I bring it home. I'll broccoli. You want broccoli? I grab a piece of broccoli. It looks green. Put it in the bag. I go home. She gets it. She looks at it. This has bugs. I'm like, what do you mean it has bugs? She looked all in it. Look, we don't see this down. You can't get this. This is what they do, bro. And so if you as a man are now falling apart at the seams, she's peeping those cracks in you. And these are things that are character-wise, not whether you got a job or not. These are character-wise things. A lot of men, we do all of this trying to get girls. We do all of this trying to get jewelry. We do all of this trying to
I was about to say the gold, the girls, and the glory. That is y'all's Achilles heel.
But we're not working on ourselves. We are doing no work on our personalities, on our character. We're not building a strong system around each other, right? Because like Cassandra said, when you go through something, you should have in place other men or a community of people that can boop bop boop put you right back in, hold you up. You ain't got the fall but so far, because as Jay-Z said, everybody, could be each other's crutches. We forgot that line. And all we heard was the 4.6 line. You know what I'm saying? We're really supposed to build a strong community around us to hold us up. And if you don't have that, when something bad happens, your whole house will crumble. I believe that women leave when they realize this is not a good place for her anymore. Women are always going to take care of themselves, bro. And they put their faith in you. When a woman trusts you, she's giving what she's always held like very tight herself to you, to say, all right, I trust you with me here. But bro, if you drop that, she grabbing it back and she's like, all right, well, I can't get that back to you no more. You ain't know what you was doing with that. Like, nah, you abused me, you talk crazy, you's out cheating, you blew all the money, you was gambling, you're on fan base or whatever, FanDuel all day. You don't really got it in control the way I need you to have it in control. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna take care of myself and the kids. You might need to pay child support. Anyway.
That escalated.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Yo-Yo says, also parents also preach to their girls, you can do bad all by yourself, therefore training us to get ghosts when times are hard. A lot of times parents, mothers are teaching you how to deal with the guy that left them, and that's unfortunate. That y'all got to go through that as women. Y'all see your mom go through stuff, and that becomes part of the things that you're worried about happening to you.
And I think that we also have we got to kind of complete that rhetoric too, although I do agree with it, but there's another paragraph to that. I think when young girls hear moms or people say things about men not being good, there's a bit of a defiance around that. They'll test that and they'll date, and she'll get her first love, and then she'll experience something that resonates with what she heard. And that hard fall on her when she face plants, that's the thing that she'll pick up, which is, this is what my mom was saying, this is what my grandma was saying. So this is the part where we acknowledge that we can co-create, that we can co-create in the negative, that we can co-create in the positive, right, in the affirmative. And I think that having these full conversations supports that, right, so that we don't necessarily, so that we have accountability, we have shared accountability per situation, right? So that no one is bearing the brunt of it. I don't think a man should hold all the weight on on certain things, no less than a woman, right? So when we look at, this is 100% how I've contributed to this, although not being my fault, but this is how I've contributed to it, and take ownership of that. So when we see women not saying hello, if a man says hello in the street, the compassionate man will say, I can understand why she wouldn't do that, right? Even though I've done nothing to her, but I get it, right? And for women as well, like, these men out here, they're not really talking, they're not really expressing their emotions the way that I would like to hear. However, I recognize that when a man has bared his soul to me and said something to me, I threw it back in his face. So now I understand why he shut down, because I contributed to him shutting down, even though he has said that to me, and I might try over and over again as a woman because I'm emotionally comfortable. I get to recognize that the masculine's way of handling trauma or drama is to take his heart, his chest, throw it into the ocean, and keep it pumping. There just aren't too many second and third chances when it comes to the masculine. That's just how y'all built, right? It just takes one solid good time to do something that's like overtly disrespectful. This is not to say that men don't have grace and compassion, because men will, they'll brush past things a lot. Like, all right, cool, she forgot to do such and such. All right, whatever. Just please try not to do that again. Like, guys can do that. But there are some things for a man where it's just like, nah, you went too far. So at this point, what I'm going to do is, you're not getting that side of me again. Because if you thought that side of me was bad, wait till you see this one. Wait till you get a load of this. You know what I'm saying? And then he got to show her what it looks like when he gets cold. Right? He gonna show it.
I do believe that the reason men do that is vulnerability, bro. We don't, for us to trust you, right. That takes a lot. You violate that trust, that's like, wow. I can't give you that back. you're gonna fall into a different sector of being where you at in my life now.
Yep.
I can't just uh I'm not gonna I don't fall for the same trick twice. As men, we don't let nobody in. Even your friends ain't got but so far in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So for a woman to get in and to violate that, yeah, that's a
And we
harsh thing
can't,
to get past.
yeah, and we cannot ask you guys, like I've always love deeper, but women are long suffering. I really do believe that men love in a very deep way. And it's not to take away from women. I just think that the frequency around it, the expression of it is very different. And I think that men's loyalty capacity, based on based on how men are built and wired. I'm gonna say something that's gonna trigger this out of y'all. I'm just warning. But I think that men have the capacity to be loyal in a way that women don't necessarily experience. And the evidence of that, right? There's a saying that says, wherever you go, there you are. The evidence of that, and I say this a lot of times, is how men purchase things. When a man finds something that he likes, a certain brand, a certain cologne, he's going to stick to it for a while. When a man, it could be down to a bar of soap. If he likes that Dove with the green label on it and it works for him, he finna buy it again. And he finna buy it again and again and again and again and again, until maybe they don't make it anymore. But women, she'll have 12, 13, 14 different soaps, different hair products, different, clothes, things of that nature. And that just, I'm not saying that women aren't, oh, I think my, yeah, some feedback. Yeah, I'm not saying that women are not faithful to their man. What I am saying, I'm not saying that women cannot be loyal. I think I'm just,
Nah,
let
you're
me
good
see.
over here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
That,
think that women don't have the capacity to be loyal. What I'm saying is that it is hidden knowledge that men do have the capacity to be loyal. It does not mean that he's not looking at someone or anything like that. It's just a different charge, it's a different perspective. Women, we cannot look at loyalty in the lens as a woman, because the way we express our loyalty is how men express theirs their own way. So what I'm saying is, because it's in a man's divine nature to, when he finds something, to stay stuck on it. When a man loves a woman, he is stuck on it. And that stuckness is so peculiar, because where in the past he may have been able to deal with a woman and toss her back in the water, when he finds that one and he cannot let go of her, it throws him for a massive loop. And therein lies conflict, because that's when he realizes how deep his love goes. And I think because men intrinsically know that there's a depth to their love, they're so much more protective of it. So they're not as likely to fall in love in the way that a woman can. You know what I'm saying? Like a woman could have maybe 2 to 3 first loves, but first loves kind of experience. Like it might be like, well, I was in love with him, but then I met this other guy and I just love, he's my first love in this way. Whereas a man, like he got one for real first love, like one for real first love, like she is it. And I think that men intrinsically know this. I'm talking about outside of the 3D communicative reality. This is like an internal compass that men have, that they intuitively know intrinsically, and that's why they guard it so hard, so much. You know what I'm saying? They don't just go ahead and give it away. So when a man is guarding something that he has, who holds as a solid possession, to the feminine, what it looks like is he's not serious, he's not interested. It's not that he's not interested, it's not that he's not trying to be serious all the time. Sometimes it is like, nah, I know that if I F with you in that way and you do something that's gonna piss me off, there's no getting this back for anybody. Not you, not no other woman. So I'm not about to just go ahead and give you the most prized possession that I have to offer, my most vulnerable piece that only have one of it. I'm not. So I think that that is just how the masculine operates when it comes to that energetic, vulnerable exchange, that I don't think a lot of women grasp or understand, because it's quite different. And it's we don't feel it like that. When I channel and I tap into how men process and feel, it's a complete different energy. Y'all men do not process hurt, pain, and love the way that women process hurt, pain, and love. It's completely different. But synergistically, if we find a way to bring it together, it creates such a gorgeous, juicy harmony more people were able to take advantage of.
I think most women would say, all right, well, if men love so hard, then why do they stray outside of the house and then lie about it and don't, instead of breaking up? I'd
Right.
like
Well,
to hear
that's
what you got to think about that.
yeah, totally. That's the part where a man is still invested in his love bucket for you, and that woman is not a love bucket experience. So you can't conflate the two. Women, we conflate the two. We put them together. Now, a mature, healthy man who works on himself spiritually, despite urges, won't do it because he understands from the like when a man begins to practice understanding from a woman's lens using empathy, he won't do it because he doesn't want to hurt her in that way. He doesn't want to cause that much pain. That doesn't mean that he's never thinking of it. That doesn't mean he's not looking at somebody like, oh, I could have her. She giving me the eyes. She touching my shoulder. Like I could have that. Let me get myself out of here because he's mature enough to know if he keep flirting with this, he gonna fall. Right. So women, we cannot conflate a man cheating and stepping out of the house as a love experience. It's not the same bucket. They can compartmentalize. Men compartmentalize their emotions and experiences a lot. So he can play with somebody and she be something to play with and come back home and feel like, damn, I probably shouldn't have done that, but this is where I want to be. She, my wife or my woman, is my home. So it's two completely different things, right? Like just like men sometimes
You
they
need
look.
to write a book.
Oh, thank you.
You
Sometimes
need to
men will
write
look at,
a book.
you as a man, you can go into a woman's shower and be like, what the hell is going on in this shower? You got this shower gel here, this, cucumber verbena here. You got the peony over here. You got like, what the hell? We can be because we're just so consumed with that. So just men don't understand our behaviors either, right? We have our own intricate ways where everything for the feminine, there is no beginning and no end. Everything is the same. So in a woman's mind, I don't have a bunch of products. I have one product. Shower gel. This is beauty. I have one product. And we think that we're being
I would challenge you on the next thing, that if me thinking like a woman, why is it that women can have 30 soaps but only want one man? Only will have that. Whereas a man will have one soap and have 30 women.
Yep, totally. So for a woman, she doesn't see it like she has 30 soaps. She has soap. It's just different. It still falls under the umbrella as one thing. She's still committed to her self-care. She's still committed to beauty, whatever that is, and having fun with it. There is no beginning and no end. Everything is one thing for the feminine. It's just one thing. It doesn't occur. It doesn't occur to us as excess. It occurs to us as abundance. So how this would translate being in a relationship with a man and she's with her one man, she may find herself wanting to explore the different versions of her with that one man. You understand? So there is a dark feminine, right? So especially when women pass 25 and they get to 30, a lot of times why sometimes relationships fizzle or get conflict is when a woman is going into her 30s, she is more interested in discovering her dark feminine side, where she's pushing past the brink in her sexual experience, right? That's still her, but she just wants to experience another version of her with that one man. So our variety is internal. We don't necessarily have to have an external variety. It is an internal experience of variety of her being feisty, fun, which is why women want to sometimes have spontaneity, which is why sometimes women can be a little bit confusing because you can be like, do you want a big gift or do you want a lot of small gifts? If you ask a woman that, what would you prefer, a big gift or a lot of small gifts? Someone will say a lot of small gifts, but if she's really honest, she'll say, I want both. I want big gifts and I want a lot of little ones too, right? So it's just it's variety, but it's all gearing towards the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yo, you smoked that. You smoked that. People are saying, Lord, she is reading me. Wow, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And Fro is just in here commenting away. Okay. I do
Yes.
want to get back to
Men's
what we
mental
were
health.
talking about.
Yes.
Um,
But
I do.
knitting the two would be right in terms of like women, how we can support our men and help our men the same way. She said I feel attacked. I love you, girl. So as women supporting men and their mental health, and men supporting your mental health, I think what helps the most is, at the bare minimum, understand we function and process differently. We don't have to know all the ins and outs. We don't have to create validation in a way that's very specific. It can be just as simple as your perspective. It's kind of like, I like to use an analogy of being at a house, right? If you give me your address, Tahoe, right? And you're in the front of your house, but for whatever reason, my lift had me come to the back of your house, right? Let's say like you have one of those homes where you have like the back. I'm at your address, and I can tell you, hey, I see trees, I see some grass, and you're like, you don't see a stoop, you don't see stairs, I don't see. You might tell me you're at the wrong location, and I'll be like, no, this is where the lift dropped me off. Isn't this the address? And we confirm it's the address. I am at the same location. This is the back of the house, like same location. It's just a different perspective. So we don't necessarily have to agree on how everything looks, that it needs to function and look in this exact same way, because the backyard of a house has its function and its purpose, and the front of a house has its function and its purpose. It's the same house. If we can just acknowledge that we have a different piano and a different perspective, then we can recognize we're at the same location. We're actually so much closer to being one than we realize if we would just relinquish control and the desire to be right. So that's how I'm gonna knit that back to men's mental health. So ladies, let us try to understand men from their perspective and support them in how they're delivering their message about what they're feeling and needing. And and men, I can speak up, like stand in your power.
Hard. It's hard.
Be with
It's hard to speak up.
It
Y'all got more
is.
words than us, and y'all know how to
We do.
argue better, and y'all know how to. And y'all also know how to switch things around so that if I'm
We
talking
do.
about one thing,
We'll move the
you'll add
goalposts.
something that makes it seem as if you're still talking about this, but we're talking about something else now. And then
Yes.
in that, now I don't really know how to answer that because I'm confused.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now I just want to get quiet because this shit just got really complicated
Yes.
out of nowhere. And it's like, yo,
Yes.
I know I can't tell you nothing because we wind up arguing and all that. And it's like, yo, I tried to tell you something, and this is what I got from it. All right, I just learned something from that. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want
Right.
to talk to you about things anymore. I'm just gonna hide it. I'm gonna get quiet. I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
honest with you. I'm just gonna avoid it. I'm gonna lie because
Mm-hmm.
trying to be honest with you was not fruitful or
Yep.
beneficial. And
100%.
now, yeah, yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
that's crazy. I think women are extremely intelligent. One of my friends used to say, "Some people be so smart they stupid,"
Yeah.
and I always thought that was a stupid quote, but I do understand that outsmarting me. How does that help you if you really want us to be on the same page?
That part.
How does that
Boom.
help us? If all you did was confuse
Mm-hmm.
the hell out of me and you won this
Mm-hmm.
argument, but now we are totally on two ends of the field now. Because
Two ends of the field.
I try to tell you my truth and you just made it into some other shit that
Yes.
I just can't. I can't even. I don't have the mental. The whatever you're good at doing, I don't have that. I was just trying
And
to be
don't want
honest,
to.
and I
Right.
don't want to. I don't even
Right.
have the time for that.
Uninterested.
Um,
To support the gentlemen who are watching now and the ladies who are watching now, anybody who might catch the replay, when you're with a partner who is tangential, and a lot of women are tangential, will go off on a tangent. And that goes back to what I had shared with Tahoe, that woman scan. We're looking for the absolute truth. So sometimes we're fiddling with things that need not be fiddled with because we're unsettled and having the full truth. What you can do is you highlight that. You could say, hold on a second, we're getting off topic here. Let's get back on track, and let's table that part. I just want to address this one thing right here. And when you practice that, meaning the first few times that you initiate boundaries in communication, there's going to be conflict because we all have a resistance to change. That's the human way. The human way is to resist change. So there's going to be some resistance, but if you continue to practice, and she will know over time, okay, I want to talk to Saho about something. I want to talk to my man about something. I already know he's not going to let me talk about 100,000,001 things. So let me select the battle that I want to focus on today versus a bunch of them, right? Let me just focus on this one thing. And she'll begin to survey her mind on what is a topic she wants to address. So gentlemen, yes, women can pull the conversation to and fro. I would like to inspire you and empower you by using that language so that you do not feel tempted to shut down. So you can just say, hey, babe, I get that you are wanting to know more about that, but we're getting off topic. Let's just address this and wrap this up with a nice red bow. And we can talk about the other thing another time because I only have the bandwidth for just this one part. All right. And you be firm with it, right? Like as a masculine, you have your right to be firm. So I do have another question for you, Tahoe. So we can switch gears because I'm a relationship person, so I will stay on this for 12 hours if I do not pull myself away from it. So we talked about support system. Do you feel like you have a support system? I know that might be a loaded question, but if you do, what did you do to get there? And if you do not, what do you think you would like to see around you so that you do feel supported?
Do I feel I have a support system? I do. It's a small support system though. One of them is you. Very often, you would take the time out your day just to hit me and make sure that I'm okay.
Yes.
That's a huge thing. Most men only get that from people close, like mom, but you're not gonna really say, all of the things that you got going on, and then your mom is very biased, one way or another. Your mother's gonna be very biased. Oh, she's not a trained professional. So I think that one of the things that for me, men need to have a trained professional. They need to be doing that work, like on themselves, like real shit. Stop waiting until something's wrong to go seek help.
Yeah, that's being on the defense.
That's you're all the way in the negative now. You're just trying to get back to zero. You're not even trying to advance to get to a 10 or a 50 on the board. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have a savings account of peace. So the minute something goes wrong, you're in the negative.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't even know how to deal with stress that's coming in because you didn't prepare for that. So I think that if we're really talking about men's mental health, bro, use your insurance at your job. Use your insurance. Go to psychology.com. Get you somebody and just go talk about regular life. You don't know what doors is going to open. I ain't going to lie. It's hard for those doors to open. Them doors open. There's all types of stuff back there. But once you get it out, it's empty. You start carrying, you're not carrying around that weight no more. Just understand that.
Yeah.
Whatever's in those doors or behind those brick walls, that's a lot of heavy shit that you're carrying around every day. Your emotional car is loaded.
Yep.
If you let it out, it's empty. You're going faster. You're going further. You know what I'm saying? You're making more. You're making more progress in life because you've let all of the dead weight go from the past.
Yes.
But men, we tend to be very scared of releasing and opening those doors or breaking down those bricks, and rightfully so, because it's very hard. It's very difficult. Hard is that's one of those trigger words. It's very difficult to face your demons. It's very difficult to face those demons, but it is very rewarding to do so. And it's also, hint, hint, women love when men are actually doing work on themselves. Women love it. Women love to see a man is actually taking something just because he wants to. A lot of them will be like, oh, you're in therapy, well, but those are the ones that you got to get rid of. Don't worry about judgment, bro.
Right.
Here's a question we have.
Yes.
You want to read that?
Sure. Hi, Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo says men will say that they're okay and they are not okay. How do we create a safe space for them? Even a simple question like, how are you doing today? Will elicit the answer, I'm good. So I got Yo-Yo, I got you, Yo-Yo. Okay. One of the things that I will say to men to just about every man that I ever say, "Hey, how are you doing?" To, "How are you doing?" and they say that they're okay, I will ask them, "Are you really okay, or are you black man okay?" And you can almost hear the sigh of relief on the other line, even via text. And they be like,
Mm.
he'll say, "I'm feeling black man okay."
Mm.
And sometimes, believe it or not, that acknowledgement is enough. I know women sometimes like that's the genesis, right? Asking how I'm doing, and I'm being honest, is the beginning for me. But sometimes for a man, that's his revelation, which is the last chapter of the Bible, right? Like that's the end point, and he's good enough with that. You can offer and ask him if he wants to talk about it, depending on how he holds you in his life and what he's going through in that moment will determine whether or not he actually wants to talk to you. So if you find him saying no a lot, I would say keep mentioning it, and maybe one day he will open up enough. I will also say that be when you to create safe space will require you to withhold unsolicited advice. So if and when he decides to express himself to you, you have two options. One is to just vibe with him, or two, more than likely agree with him, unless he's doing something that's like vehemently off track, off kilter. And if you do notice that, then you need to ask for permission if you can give some advice.
Mm.
But if he's bold enough to admit that he wants to talk about it, honor that with just a space of silence and compassion.
Mm.
Right. So like sometimes Tahoe, he will call me to talk about something. And a lot of times I'll just hold space for him and just, I might even
Yeah.
let out a cuss word or two. Like, what the
Yeah.
F,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I might say, "Hey, let me ask you a question. Is this going on? Is that going on?" To give him the other perspective of what's going on, to help him to be enlightened in a different way
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like the feminine experience, and provide strategy. But the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I will do that with Tahoe as an example is because that's the dynamic that we have. But if it's just a friend, I do not do that with my friends. I bite my tongue a lot with my friends unless he has invited me in that space of his. And a lot of my guy friends have, and some have not. So some of them do not want to talk about it, and I respect that. I trust. The best gift a woman can give a man is to trust that he knows what he's doing.
Mm.
So if
I,
he's quiet, I trust that he knows that he needs to be quiet, and I will honor that.
I want to say, as far as the safe space thing, when you speak to me and you're giving me advice or counsel as a woman, do your best to do it in a way that doesn't seem condescending or, uh, well, as if I did something stupid, or
Mm,
as if it was obvious the answer to these
mhm,
questions. Because if I'm opening up to you, I'm coming from a really vulnerable space. If your woman is, if your lady is
mhm,
basically like, that was dumb, I told you this, you knew that, or this and
mhm,
that, it's kind of like, that's kind of not what I needed right now in this moment. And it also makes me not want to have this discussion with you
ever again, like probably ever
in the
again.
future. I'm
Mhm,
trying, I need more compassion. And it's like, I don't know if I'm looking for my mom in you, you know what I'm saying? On So Shameless this week, a guy was like, yo, you can't go home and complain. You can't unload with your girl was and the other. But having somebody that is willing to listen. So very often when I speak to Cassandra, she'll say, do you want me to give you the therapist answer,
right,
or just break it to you, like, and I understand those are two different, completely different
mhm,
responses, and I get to choose how I'm going to receive it. uh I would kind of like that from my girl too, or from my lady too, when it comes to the safe space aspect of like, yo, do you kind of just want to talk, vent, and know how to listen, know how to
mhm,
listen without giving me those looks, without
mhm,
giving me looking down or
mhm,
whatever, that thing where I already know that you're being condescending in a way, but you don't want to be, you know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Or you're being judgmental of what I've given you in a
mhm.
way, without trying to be. Alan says, I trust you more when you respect my space and privacy without being confrontational or demeaning. That's big,
That's
bro.
awesome. That's awesome,
That's
Alan.
really big. And I don't think that women understand that, especially because y'all used to y'all men being so strong and so, confident or cocky or
Correct.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that, a little bit of, your little pushback or whatever, you don't think it's going to hurt us. But
Right.
when we're talking about safe space, now is not the time for that, bro.
Correct.
Now is not the time for that. And knowing when, time and place type deal for you to be giving me that pushback that, that you normally give, now it might not be beneficial
Yeah.
for you to give me that energy right now. We have another
A lot.
question if you want to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's go for it. Travis. Hi, Travis. Travis asks, what advice would you give to men who are struggling with grief? Ooh, and don't know how to move through the stages. My Lord. So that is a big one. Um, Before I get to the beginning part of it, let me say this. You will grieve after the grief, after the lesson. So, grief is an incredible roller coaster ride. There are several stages to which, I don't have them memorized at the moment because I don't do grief work, but there are several stages when it comes to grief. And when you're in the middle of it, a lot of times grief is connected to a loss, a great loss. And one of the things I point out is that if you experience grief, the silver lining in that is that it's just evidence that you love so well, because it's hard to grieve unless it's tethered to some sort of an energetic cord, which is to feel love, to love someone or something. And the loss of it, especially when it's not your choice, or a hard choice that you had to make. So let's use an example here. Let's say it's a breakup. Let's say the grief is a breakup, and maybe you didn't want the relationship to end, but maybe it had to end, and you were kind of forced to get to the end of it. The way that a man would go through processing grief is you want to do a lot of heart mind coherence. Okay, so what I mean by that is sometimes men will compartmentalize their healing by, say, going to the gym. And women do this too, but we're going to focus on men. So men will do something like, yo, I got to go to the gym. I got to get this out of me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if going to the gym was a precursor to mental health, then Mike Tyson would have never bit Holyfield's ear, right? Like he would never be in a position to be aggressive. What you want to do is you want to be intentional when you go to the gym. So because you want to connect your mind to your physical body and your heart. So it would be like, all right, I'm going to the gym and I'm gonna get this energy out with the intention of thinking about this bad thing that happened. Or let's say you're in a relationship and you guys are married and you don't want to get a divorce, right? Like divorce is not an option for you, but you have the sensation as a man to leave, which is very common. A lot of times men, they feel like their feet do the voting. Like I want to leave this relationship. As opposed to leaving the relationship, you can get on the treadmill and let the treadmill represent, or the jog represent, you escaping that version of your marriage that you no longer want. So by connecting your mind to your heart and your body, and executing this function, it helps to get you out of that self-preserving mode, so that you can unleash that energy in a way that is healthy, so it doesn't come visit you again. I think one of the reasons why, this is my own opinion, why grief has a lot of ups and downs, and one day you think that you're really good and then another day you feeling like terrible, is because there are a lot of trapped and hidden elements inside of you, like pain, sorrow, frustration, right? Feeling betrayal, that you end up tucking away. And at the most inopportune time, it'll just pop up because it wasn't really dealt with. So you want to make those hidden things conscious. You need to bring it to your conscious awareness and be intentional about how you go through a cycle of releasing that energy so that it's no longer in your body. When you practice that over and over and over again, then you will feel relaxed in your body. When you feel a relaxation in your physical body, that's how you know you've actually addressed it. If you haven't, go at it again. So what that would look like, so that you guys are clear, because sometimes I feel like when I give examples, it may not be clear. If I was going through, if I will use a breakup. If I was going through a breakup, I would say, or let's say I had an argument with my man, right? I had an argument with my man. I'm feeling frustrated. I would ask myself, what mode am I in right now? Am I in fight mode? Am I in flight mode? Do I feel frozen? Like I feel like I can't speak? Let's say I felt frozen, right? I would feel frozen. Then I would consciously ask myself, well, how do you want to express this frozen experience? And I will say, you know what? I'm going to honor that I feel like I cannot speak up in my relationship. And I'm going to lay in my bed for an extra 30 minutes. I'm going to bring that conscious awareness to honor that emotion and feeling. And when those 30 minutes are up, I'm going to say, Cassandra, I want you to try to see if you can at least let your feet touch the ground, let your feet touch the floor. And we'll see if I can challenge myself. And I feel like I can't. Okay, I need another 30 minutes to be in this frozen state, because I'm not going to push myself through it. I'm going to go through inside of the emotion. Once I accomplish that tactic in my physical body, whether it is I'm gonna lay in my bed, or I'm gonna sit Indian style, or I'm gonna do breath work, like I'm gonna breathe, or I'm going to come out of this frozen state by calling out different things, light bulb, television, door, to be again conscious in my awareness. The next step that I'm going to do is I'll likely journal about it, or I will talk to somebody about it, to get through the entire wave of that emotion until I feel back in my body, back in homeostasis. That is one of the best methods that I've ever created and work on with my clients. So I'm giving y'all like free game for real, because I work with my clients on this, but it brings them into a Sabbath, right? And that's a space of rest. And so that's what I would say. And understand that grief is best handled with a lot of grace. And once you understand the lesson in this grief, which a lot of people end up doing, which is they'll learn through grief sometimes what the lesson is that's likely connected to a childhood wound. Once you learn the lesson, sometimes you grieve again. So it is a process. It is a healthy process. So any gentleman that's going through it, my compassion is with you. It is not easy.
Yo says this is deep because I believe the dissolution, oh my goodness, of my marriage, let me see, was because he couldn't get past the grief of a loss, not having the tools, and pushing your partner away while you go through grief.
Absolutely. Yep. And likely the fear of sometimes we create self-fulfilling prophecy. So whatever that loss was, sometimes when people experience loss, they're afraid that they are going to lose again. So they end up, it's almost like, well, I'm going to push you away before you can push me away. I'm going to get ready. Like, I already sense that you're pulling
Done
your energy.
that.
Yeah, I
Been
sense that you're
there.
pulling your energy away from me. So before you actually pull the plug, I'm finna pull the plug first on that ass, because I'm not going to deal with you rejecting me and not wanting me
Nope.
and not. But he never really wanted to let go in the first place. It wasn't like a
Mhm.
real solid desire, like from an executive, like, no, I got to get out of here because it's not healthy for me. It is more so I am terrified. I'm petrified of you not wanting me. So while you want me, let me leave.
Mm.
It's like, it's like a basketball player who decided, let me retire my jersey before these young kids make me feel like I gotta retire, right? Let me retire strong. It's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of like
hilarious.
that. Yeah.
Cassandra, it's been a great convo.
Yes.
I am consider myself very lucky to have you in my corner. Do you have
Likewise.
anything else that you want to get off before we leave?
Yes. If you can share with the gentleman, because we are going to post this. If you could have, um, if you have a thought on how the Black community as a whole, how we can better support the mental health of Black men from a man's perspective, what do you think? How can we support our men? What do you think would be most helpful?
Um, Compassion
Passion.
is one thing. Um, Understanding the weight it is of being a man in society today uh, is very important. I think men go through, I spoke about this yesterday, a lot of expectation without any congratulation, without any acknowledgement. You just supposed to do this and
Yeah.
not get any sort of return. The example that I gave yesterday on one of my shows was, um, as a woman, imagine you walk in the house, you got your hair done, you
Mm-hmm.
got your toes done, you came in looking all nice, and all he did was give you a kiss and he walked back in the other room.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he did not acknowledge your hair, The fact that he did not acknowledge that you got dressed up, the fact that he did not acknowledge your told, y'all gonna feel a way, and that's gonna come off some way. It's just the way it is. Men do this completely throughout the day. We're always trying to stop trucks from hitting our family and stop this from happening, and it feels like we're just always working, and the expectation for us to do that is there, but there is very little acknowledgement. There's very little encouragement that happens. The affirmations are only there for things that you feel are worthy, but there's a million other things that he's doing that you expect him to do as a man. Every time you put the food down, I know to say, damn, this food is amazing. Yo, you killed this. Damn, the sauce. You because I know you spent some time in there and you did something and you did it for me. So every time, mostly, I see that you're doing it. My girl, I was asleep the other day and I worked. I was working, Pineapple Express, and we had to go to my friend's wedding in
by the way.
Yeah, thank you. You know, we had to go to the wedding out in DC. And I was like, yo, I don't think I could drive. I don't think it's safe for me to drive. Can you drive? She had to drive my truck. It was big ass Jeep, heavy ass Jeep. And she drove that shit all the way damn near to DC.
Wow.
And when I got there, I was like, yo, you did such a great job. Like, and I kept saying it throughout the day, affirming, kept saying, like, yo, I'm just really proud of the fact that you was able to handle that you did it. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. You know, I don't think men get that very often. Yet we are expected to drive to DC. I'm not saying that you're going to be like, oh, you did a great job driving to DC, you know, but a little head on the way would be nice. No, I'm just playing. You know, I just think that men need more grace, as Ray said in the chat. We need more grace, understanding, compassion, just for existing and the role that we have to bear, because that role is heavy. The masculine role is heavy. Of course, the feminine role is heavy, but I believe that you guys have placed it in our minds to affirm. We can't acknowledge, you know, we can't not acknowledge y'all for everything, but I believe that it's very much unspoken when it comes to us. So that's how I feel about that.
I think that's perfect. I think we could leave it right there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'd love to continue this series throughout the month. If you like, we can do this, you know, more often.
Absolutely. If you guys have questions, drop your questions. Happy to answer. I'm going to get questions because, again, I'm not a men's expert, men's advocate. And maybe next time I'll ask you some questions so that you can help me understand the men's perspective better.
That's right. Or we can get, you know, questions from our community.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure that they would love to. Maybe we open up something in our Discord channel and they can feed us questions. And then maybe I can ask you questions on things, ways that men can help deal with our mental health issues. I'd love to be able to be a support system for the men in our community. I think that we need it. And, you know, and I don't think that we have very many avenues to find the information or the support, the information, the support. There's another word that I just don't have them because it's 9 o'clock and it's past my bedtime. But we love you, Miss Cassandra. Please find Miss Cassandra. Ask Miss Cassandra on Instagram. Yes. You know, and do they email you places if people want to hire you?
That is the best place. Listen, I'm an old lady. I can't with all the social media. It's too much. Just get me on Instagram. That is the best way to find me. Travis, you're amazing. Oh, this is excellent conversation. Yes, absolutely. Guys, let us know what questions that you have, resources that you'd like. I'm happy to point anybody in the direction that they need. This is June, Men's Mental Health Awareness. Please reach out to the fellas in your life, the men in your life, whether you're a lady or a gentleman, and just let him know, like, what's amazing about him, what you appreciate about him. Let him know what is so dope about him. Don't just say, yo, you're dope. Say something like, man, I just find the way that you show up as a father, how you show up in this community is so amazing. Let me know how I can support you. What can I take off of your plate?
More of that. Absolutely. And I want to say thank you to the women in my life. Yo, and all of the women that are here, everything that you do for us, all of the men in our community, we love you. Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you guys for being here and, even supporting this conversation. Fro, that goes for you too, even though you was definitely overdoing it. We love y'all. I'm getting the hell out of here. Peace. Wait, don't hang up. Oh yeah, you can hang up on your YouTube, but don't hang up.